Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly and slightly irreverent talk about cars, the car industry, and driving in general. I'm Doug Stewart, Senior Digital Content Producer for Fox 61 in Hartford. And joining me is Jeff Buckles, writer and editor at WBBM Chicago. And from beautiful Fairfield County, Connecticut, Glenn Packman, improv comedy stylist and fellow car enthusiast. This week, we're going to talk about what we're looking forward to in the year ahead as far as new cars go. So, Jeff, why don't you lead us off?
So the first thing that came to mind when we started ideating this topic was a car that I actually stumbled across in person at a grocery store in the Chicago suburbs last weekend. And it's novel not only for who's designed it and who's behind it, but also who's building it. And that is the Fisker Ocean. This is a Range Rover Evoque, roughly sized sport utility vehicle, battery electric power, from the latest company to be run by Henrik Fisker, who is the old why are you laughing already?
It was something going on here in the room. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The Henrik Fisker, the legendary former BMW and Aston Martin designer, who I think this is his second go around at trying to make an electric vehicle. The first was the Fisker Karma, which is still rattling around, I think, in some form or another. The Ocean is really interesting, really modern looking, some fun kind of surprise and delight features. There are solar collectors on the roof, which add to the vehicle's range, which is really cool. And not only is it novel for those things, it looks great, but it doesn't look like the future exactly. It's not trying to look like the future of cars. It's just an interesting looking SUV. But what's interesting is that instead of doing the usual car industry route, you build a plant, you hire a bunch of people, and you set them to start building your car. Fisker is contracting out the construction of this car to the Canadian company Magna, which is a pretty well-known automotive supplier and also has built completed cars. Magna, if memory serves, is probably best known for building the original Mercedes G-Wagon back in the 70s and 80s as part of Steyr and Puch. But they've also done a number of other contract jobs. And for a minute, Magna was in the running to buy General Motors' European operations back when GM was selling everything during the Great Recession, but they had an issue about intellectual property and they ended up backing out of the deal. So it'll be interesting to see if Magna can keep up with demand for the Fisker Ocean, which is selling up to about $70,000, I think, in fully loaded launch edition spec. But it's an interesting model for a company like that. Interesting for Magna and lucrative, and interesting for Fisker too, because if it doesn't go all that well, he hasn't tied up a ton of money in capital and tax incentives and all of that stuff. So that's what I'm hoping to see more of, just because it's so interesting, and more battery electrical vehicles are better than fewer, I think.
I think one of the cool things about that is that the way back windows go down. Like all the windows except for the windshield can be retracted.
Yeah,
and
cool.
And it's one of the few EVs that has an actual opening sunroof, right?
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool.
Even with a solar collector, even solar collectors on the roof. It's neat.
Glenn, what's on your list?
Before we depart from the Ocean, I just wanted to throw out there, I was down in the Richmond, Virginia area a couple weeks ago and drove past a house that had very proudly sitting out in the driveway, polished and shined like it had just driven off a showroom floor, which is ironic because I'm not even sure if Fisker had showrooms, but it was the Karma, and it was a beautiful specimen of the Karma, which has got to be going on a decade old at this point.
At least,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just say it was a very interesting car. However, I couldn't get over the impression that it was sneering at me. The front end had that sort of
Snidely whiplash. You're absolutely
yes,
right.
yes. It was definitely, as I was going by, I was like, bitch, keep driving. It was that look, you know. And I slowed down, and the car was staring at me. It was staring at me with a great deal of condescension. So but an interesting car. I always thought they were interesting, and Fisker himself just said, I had a bad idea at the wrong time, you know, and that was the car that was just on its way out and not on its way in, you know. So I'm interested to see what happens with them. The one that I'm so excited about and dying to talk about, and I may own one of these, is the Volvo EX30. Because wow. They're doing the Tesla sparse thing on the inside, but I saw a video report on this car, and all of it kind of makes sense. It sounds like it takes a little getting used to. There's a learning curve behind the car, but once you understand all the technology, you understand why there's a lack of much of anything on the inside other than the steering wheel and the little, you know, touch screen. It comes with the Google command, so all you have to do is say, "Hey Google, set the temperature at 68 degrees in the car," and it happens, you know. But moreover, I'm really interested in a car that probably can only weigh, you know, several thousand pounds, and they're looking at putting 2 engines in it and giving it 422 horsepower. And this thing is smaller than my BMW X1. That's fast, okay? My Beamer is 227 horsepower, I believe, and is really a lot. There's no messing around with this car. You hit the gas, it goes. That's like half, you know, a little less than half more. I'm dying to sit in one of these and just see how fast it goes. The same video report I was talking about, the guy had just a single engine model and was proclaiming how fast it was in just its standard form. And P.S., they're talking about selling these for around $35,000. That's the thing that interests me the most.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Bing right there is like,
Yeah.
it's a Volvo, so it's got the Volvo cred behind it. Sidebar, yes, it's being made by Geely in China, which is how they can afford the $35,000, you know, price tag. But Geely is doing the smart thing by keeping Volvo involved in all of the design aesthetics. So you're still getting a Volvo designed car. It's just built off site. Some people may have a problem with that being built in China, to which I just have to say, start looking around your house and picking out all the stuff that's built in China. Come on. You know, there's
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the iPhone.
There you go. And we can keep going from there. Yeah.
Right.
Lots and lots of computers. And
not just
everything.
electronics. Half the stuff at Home Goods is made in China, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. But it's a kind of cool looking little car. It's not, I'm not going to say the looks are devastating, but it's distinctive. Kind of
It
fun.
looks like a Volvo. You
Yep.
look at it, it's like you're not going to mistake it for anything else.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a very small Volvo. They've said I think it may be the smallest Volvo they've built besides the little sedan coupe thing they had years and years ago. But it's small. You know, compared to most things on the U.S. market, it's definitely small, and I have no problem with small. I will be looking for something to fit in my petite little garage, and that'll do it. And if it's got 422 horsepower and goes 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, wow! I mean,
There's Glenn ripping up the Merit.
Yeah, exactly, and trying to avoid tickets. But I would love to have one of these little things that looks so completely innocuous and do something at a stoplight versus somebody who's got one of those loud, overtuned monstrosities and just kick their ass. I would love to do that, you know.
Glenn versus the Brodozers. I'm here for it.
I want to
will
relive
say-
my youth, darn it all.
There you go. There you go. Well, who says
Yeah.
you don't still have your youth, Glenn? I will say that was a compliment. I will say that Volvo, ever since it began this design language that it's currently working its way through with the Thor's hammer headlights and everything else, is just going from strength to strength. Like they all look substantial. They look safe. They look, as you point out, distinctive. Like you won't mistake it for anything, well, other than a Polestar, but still, you know, same garage. I mean, they are just so handsome, honestly.
Yeah.
The,
They certainly are, and they have the reputation for just being the safest cars on the road, so that doesn't hurt, you know. But moreover, that they're going to be bringing us a European car with all the current technology, and it's going to be priced at $35,000. That is hyper compelling in my book, because electric wise, what can you get for $35,000? The answer is not a lot. You know, if you're getting this really cute, super fast, kind of cool in a minimal way on the inside, I just, you know, I'm dying to drive one of these, dying. And then I might be dying to own one after that. So we'll see.
The one of the cars that's on my list is the Volvo ES90, which is going to be their sedan version of the battery powered platform that the EX90.
The current XC90 is another, like Jeff said, another very handsome car. I mean, just I like that they're stylish without being, you know, it's still got a very classy look to it. It just, there's, every time I look at one of these cars, it doesn't seem to be anything out of place. And that goes right from the XC40, their little car, right up, you know. So I still think the XC60 is like the nicest looking mid-size SUV on the road right now, or would they call that a compact, I guess. But Volvo is doing it right. And I'm glad that they got pulled back from the precipice by doing a major change in palling up with the Chinese. You know, it's worked for them. It hasn't ruined their business, and if anything, it's helped. So, you know,
I think the positive aspect of their current owner is they said, do what you need to do.
Right, exactly.
You know, and it wasn't like GM and Saab saying, well, why don't you use this? And why don't you use that? Why don't you use the other thing? And, or Ford going into Volvo and, you know, mucking about. The other one I had on my list, I'm really curious to see what a Corvette SUV will be like. I know that people are gonna, the Corvette Ascenti, Corvette fans are not gonna like it at all. And allegedly it's supposed to be based on the CT5 Blackwing chassis. So that'll be interesting. And I'm really interested. I want to see the Land Cruiser in person.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
I'm going to third that. Yeah.
It's a sharp design. You know, it's I love squared off vehicles. I'm happy that SUVs are going back to that. And I like the fact that it comes with two completely different front ends, you know, depending on your mood when you buy it. I think you know, it's $50,000 is more than what I could spend on a car, but I think that is a really good price point for it. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because it seems like it'll run forever, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Have you, I don't know if you've seen any of the comment on this from the Toyota fans out there. There is a little bit of static about this isn't really a true Land Cruiser. It's a Land Cruiser Prado as it's sold in Europe and elsewhere. They're leaving the last name off of it when they bring it to the US. It feels like antics with semantics, frankly. It still seems like an incredibly capable SUV. And of course, there is a Lexus version, and it has the same completely flat windshield that the Land Cruiser has. That's wonderful. To your point about squared off cars, I have 3 words for you: Hyundai Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the
It's
H
so
lights.
good with the H lights in the front
Yeah.
and the back. It's
Right.
just, it's phenomenal. It is, and I feel like I said this in a recent episode here. I just think the Hyundai Kia group, and throwing Genesis in there as well, is just again is just doing all of the things right now. And it's so fresh and so interesting, and it is very much of its time, and I'm not sure how well it'll age, but it doesn't really
That's a good
matter
point.
all that much.
Right.
It's a great looking car, and it will not be mistaken for anything else when it comes out. It's really good.
Right.
Yeah. Setting
I kinda
aside that
wanna-
whole ignition problem, but just let it go.
Yeah, I mean, that was, and talk about there was sort of that Achilles heel that they had, which was, oh, we forgot to install ignition interlocks in our car, and also we're going to blame owners for it, before they finally came to their senses. And I don't mean just sending everybody the club. And who has attached a club correctly in a car since 1993? I mean, honestly, maybe in your Firebird SLP, maybe, but no one else has. And finally, they're now installing, Hyundai Kia are doing events around the country where they're inviting owners of older vehicles to come and have interlocks put in their cars, and they're making a thing out of it, which is smart and what they should have done in the first place.
Right, exactly. And speaking of that, since we've brought up Firebirds, I'm going to ask Jeff. This is one of my favorite things about you. Where'd you learn how to drive, Jeff?
Watching the Rockford Files. And playing pole position. I have never successfully pulled off a J turn, but not for lack of trying.
Okay. Any other cars that we're looking forward to?
The new Honda Prelude is pretty. I don't
So
know if
is that, have they announced production on that?
have
No.
they? No, they
No,
haven't.
but
Okay.
you
It's
know,
up and coming, but-
in track record of the past half century, it's very rare that Honda puts a concept car on the floor that they don't eventually build pretty much exactly like.
That's true. And this one, like most Honda concepts, seems to be pretty well realized as a vehicle.
And it's a hybrid, right? I thought at
Yes.
first I saw it was a battery, but I guess it's hybrid.
I
Yeah.
think it is a hybrid. And honestly, if we look at electrification of cars, hybrid is going to be the battery electric plug-in hybrids. PHEVs are going to kind of be the gateway drug, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
The only one go ahead, Jeff. Glenn.
I was going to say, just for a future episode, my rental car while I was down in Richmond, which I just mentioned recently, was the latest model Honda Accord. I have opinions, so asterisk, we have to talk about that, because I'll give you an honest response on it, but I'll save the comments for later. But
Okay. Right.
Nice car. Either way, yeah, just looking at this car, is that going to be something that battles the Toyota Subaru combo there? What do they call
No,
it?
I think it's a class up from that.
Is it?
Well, that's my sense anyway. I don't know for certain.
Right. I'm gonna see. Well, it all depends on how they pitch it, I suppose.
Yeah, if they use the original Prelude cell line, which was a sports car for grown-ups, they probably could throw it in there.
Yeah. I remember a friend of mine, his dad had one. His dad loved that car. All right. So that brings to a close another episode of Car-Pinionated. We want to thank everyone for joining us. If you have comments or concerns or questions that you think we should answer, please email me at dstewart@fox61.com. If you'd like this, you can watch previous episodes on our YouTube channel. And remember to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.